Okay, so this is the classroom right here, and when you first walk in, like I said, practical life and sensorial are really the two areas. You'll see what it's pointing at now is practical life. This is our whole practical life. Our snack table is there, as well as our snack table right there that the children eat at. They prepare their snack there, and I'm going to walk over there. So it very much starts out just like all of our shelves do, like I mentioned in the video, very from our very preliminary type works to math and language, which can be more complex for a child. So our preliminary shelf is right here, and this has the majority of our preliminary works here. What we call scooping, pinching is there. Pinching is very important for children. With different works, you don't want them pinching each other, but pinching of different works and that pinch or grip. I have my spooning, and there is some tonging work as well as different types of pouring. I always have a dry pouring. I always have a liquid pouring. We're doing some grading and using the mortar and pestle to crush crayons, broken crayons that people are not using anymore, to make our own crayons for the classroom. Here we have our different rugs. The children are able to bring rugs to their mats to different areas of our classroom to work. A lot of our works are very much rug works that they could bring to their mat, and it defines their space. It's very much space defining, and the children, as a grace and courtesy lesson, learn to walk around those rugs and how to roll those rugs. They do a pretty good job by this time. They rolled most of them. We also have a foot soak out right now. We had a pizza party today, so our trash is a little full, but this is our dishwashing station. The children, after they eat snack, after they have lunch, they come and they wash their own dishes. They wipe off their own tables. We have a laundry space. Right now we're learning how to use a shovel with the shovels. Those are our dressing frames, and we have plant watering. Somebody watered that plant today. Hand washing. And this is our more multi-step work. So after we see that they have we call it mastered of the work. They have mastered that work. The preliminary works, they are then able to do more multi-step work. Baby washing, where it combines kind of all those skills of pouring and scooping and wiping something off. We also have hair brushing, where they're able to do their hair, some shoe shining, and then that's part of our foot soak right there. Then we also do sewing. So this is kind of our progression in sewing. We have some stringing, we have some lacing, then we have actual sewing where they're able to sew. So the children have to work through each step. So like as a 3-year-old, I would really guide my children to the stringing and lacing, and not straight to sewing, because obviously those are skills that they're going to have to learn. Right here is our this is our supply shelf. It has different towels and sponges and polishing cloth and dusting cloths. The table washing sets are actually in the dishwasher, but they're in those 2 blank spaces. We have our broom and our dustpan, and our little pouring. That was out as a work for my new 3-year-olds to help them with bigger pouring for when we do, hand washing, where they have to dump those bins out, and that just helped them learn that skill. And then when we move over here, this is our sensorial area, and everything in this sensorial area was created by Dr. Maria Montessori. The red rods, the pink tower, is about grading from the smallest cube to the biggest cube, and they're each off by 10 centimeters, I believe. And then they build that. Then they also have we have our geometric solids, which I talked about in the video, and these are very much, what I said, were the curves of different art forms. This just builds concepts that they will use later on. In a grading, we have our brown stair, We have our cylinders. They're also able to create with these. So we have these little cards down here that they can either memorize off with creating, or they can create their own creations. We very much, through grace and courtesy and through our own lessons of showing them how to do it, we show them how to do it gently, so that the materials stay nice, because that's also a big proponent of our classroom, is very much respecting each other and respecting materials and respecting what's within our classroom. There are different areas here, grading, classifying. Within these little boxes here is our sound cylinders. So this helps with hearing of sound, different sounds, which is also a very sensorial. So it's just like it sounds, everything is sensorial. These are rough and smooth right here. Those are rough and smooth tablets. You know, filling of different rough. Sometimes they put this little blindfold on and then they fill them, and they are able to, you know, fill them in and match them that way. We have our our cubes down here, which is very much an intro into, it's like a big puzzle, 3D puzzle, and like I said, very hands-on, very concrete. But actually the hidden curriculum, just like many of our practical life works, the hidden curriculum is of algebra. They don't know it's of algebra, but we do. And then they could come back to it later. That gets stored within that muscle memory, because like I said, the hand is the instrument of intelligence, and they use their hands for everything. And so that helps them to learn to feel and to have concrete materials. We have our color tablets, which helps them match colors. This one right here is grading of colors. So like I said, with the grading, so there's different gradations of colors. Once again, visual discrimination that goes with language, as well as math, and mathematical mind. And then we go over to language first. And these are all of our, once again, preliminary works for our language. So we have picture-to-picture matching, visual discrimination. I have a sand tray there, which helps with the muscle memory. So different things. Stephanie has some beginning sound works out, using the movable alphabet in different ways. And then we have our sandpaper letters. These are one of the original materials of Maria Montessori. We have our sandpaper. They fill the sandpaper letter. Let me get it for you. They fill it. They make that curve of the C, and then they say K after they are done. And we usually do that 3 times. Then they practice, and then we do something called the 3-period lesson, which is letting us know. So it's, you know, this is, can you find, or what's the K sound? And then we may point to it and say, what sound does this make? And then if they're able to say K, then we know they mastered that sound. That is also something we do within, that we start within sensorial too. You know, what's the biggest, what's the largest cube of the pink tower? And then what is the smallest cube? And then we would go through that 3-period lesson. That's very important in knowing and observing that a child has mastered a certain work. So that is that. These are our movable alphabet right here. Movable alphabet is very much a beginning into writing. They're able to do inventive spelling and different types. You can also use it for reading, which is where we have our reading program over there. But it's really an introduction into spelling. And then they start to go into reading because they want to know how to spell everything. And that's how you know that they're ready for reading, is when they want to know the actual spelling of it. And then this is our metal insets. And this helps with control of pencil, how to hold a pencil. It's really fun. I mean, this is probably my favorite work within the classroom. We start out with these little matching cards, those yellow cards down at the bottom, and the 3-year-old may just bring these insets over because they come out. You see? They come out. And then They bring them over, they match them, just like simple matching, but then they can trace them. And that's really the main purpose, is control of that pencil. And they go through different steps. We have step 1 here, which is just tracing. The metal, the frame and the inside are separate. So then step 2 would be tracing it. Would be tracing both on top of one another. Then it progressively gets more challenging from there. And like I said, some children may take the whole 3 years to get through this, and that's okay, because that's what they have. They have the whole 3 years. Next is our math area, and this is really where you can see the progression, which goes throughout our whole classroom, of sequencing from most concrete to more abstract type work. So those are what we call the number rods right there. And like you can see, just like with the red rods I showed over in sensorial, they count each one. So then they also know that the 1 rod that's at the very bottom is smaller than the 10 rod. So when they're counting, they know that 1 is smaller than 10, or 10 is bigger than 1. And they count each one, because it's a pattern of red, blue, as you can see. And that's really one of the first works that they use. They have to bring those over one at a time to the rug. So they are getting their movement in too, which a lot of 3-year-olds need. And then we also have numerals, sandpaper numerals, like we do. Same thing that we do with the sandpaper letters. And then they just keep going. The whole 3 years, they just keep going down the line. And it goes from most concrete to more abstract. We have our bead stairs there, and you'll see as we keep going, we have some teacher-made materials down there. We have a little poem, a mystery number game, and some matching quantities to stem bowls. We have our different materials here. Everything's very hands-on. Like I said, 10 is very powerful within our class. So these are our little 10 bars. They're gold because they're super special, and we always try to point that out. And then they are now working on their teens, their 20s, learning those more complex numbers. Then we go here. These are very complex numbers right here. These are big numbers. They start out with place values, very concrete. You could see that the 1 is definitely much smaller than the 1,000, and it gives that concrete experience. The weight is different, so they're able to build that within their muscle memory. And then these are, our 1,000, our units in that tray there, our hundreds, and then our thousands cube. And then they move over here. These are more abstract concepts. The snake game right here, which there's a snake that I made. They have numbers of 10. How to build numbers of 10. And this is, all addition work here. Whether it's big numbers, small numbers, all addition work. And then some subtraction work down at the bottom. We haven't quite gotten there yet, but it's only January. And as you can see, this is our bead cabinet. And just like over there, where they start out with the units that I showed in the very beginning, right after the red and blue number rods, they get to here, and you can see how it's all color coded. It's all color coded so that when they get here as a 4.5, 5-year-old, then they kind of already know. It's kind of embedded into their mind, and it helps them learn. It helps them, once again, with that muscle memory. And we call this our bead cabinet. These are short and long chains, and they're very much for skip counting. And then here is our, let me fix this. Here is our art area right here. Like I said, it's very literacy based right now. We have different books out. Art in Maria Montessori didn't originally have art, but it's progressively gotten better. I know when I first started my Montessori program at my school of getting my certification, I was like, the art's just not, I very much believe art should be very open-ended, and, it's very much about what the child wants to make of it. So we very much make it that it's more about, with any type of work, really, for the child, it's more about the process than it is the product of at the end. You see a lot of children at this age kind of give their artwork away, because for them, that's very much what it is about, but we also teach a lot of techniques within. As you can see, there's some folding, some origami, how to draw, so steps. So that's also pulling in language, pulling in math of how the sequence work and how to follow steps and directions, which is also very grace and courtesy. Then we have our movement shelf here, some command cards. We have our peace shelf. Here it's all about breathing and affirmations. And then we get over to our cosmic units. Like I said, we are learning about Europe. Each continent is color-coded, like many things in our classroom, so the children can build that muscle memory. And this is our globe. This is what the 3-year-olds would start out with. You can see that Europe is red, so all of our backing and some of our trays are red, so the children know that they're learning about Europe. And then we also have Tickles, which is our tortoise. And then here's our puzzles, which I also talked about in the video. They always start with the world puzzle, and then we move from there. You know, North America, we're doing Europe this month. And then they have these control maps here where they kind of match it to the same shape. And then we have our science. So like I said, we're learning about mammals, what makes a mammal, that we're also mammals as humans, and parts of a dog. And then we also have some loose parts that they're able to peg dogs with peg dolls, which are very popular right now, and just different loose parts. Loose parts are very popular among this generation of children, and they really love them. So we have some loose parts that they're able to do. Stephanie always puts out in the morning, and that's basically our classroom. There are some works out. We call these 3-part cards, and just like I explained with the 3-part lesson, these are 3-part cards. So it kind of gives that same concept of not only just matching. This is one of my children's work. They didn't all fit on the rug, and that's okay. So this is one of my children's works here that I was doing with him today, and he has matched the cards. Now he just has to match the words. And even children who don't quite know how to read, they can match the letters together to know that that's what that letter means. And then binding. He's actually really good at that. You see a lot of 4-year-olds who really get into that. And then we have this. This is another child. They are making a Ukrainian egg here. And it's part of our Europe shelf, but it's very open-ended, very part of our cultural studies. So not only are they doing art, art is very important too. A lot of Montessori classrooms do not have a big art center. I'm very art-based. So art is I just believe it's really important, not only just with promoting creativity and within a child, but also it also helps with practical life skills, cleaning up paint, cleaning up glue, cleaning up themselves, washing their hands. So I feel like it's it should be a much bigger part of Montessori classrooms than it is. Stephanie and I have a pretty good, I feel, art shelf that the children are able to do. We also have an easel out in the hallway that they're able to free paint on too. And that is basically our classroom. I'm going to try to get a whole shot. So like I said, there's the door, then you walk in, practical life, sensorial, then you work your way down just like you would from very, concrete to very abstract, more, challenging type work. And that is the view of the classroom. Thank you so much.